Evil doesn't always knock. Sometimes it waves over the fence. You smiled at them. They buried screams behind their front door. The quiet ones always carry the darkest storms. They said hello with hands that never stopped trembling. Their garden bloomed, but the soil knew secrets. The night you couldn't sleep, someone else stopped breathing. God let you feel uneasy for a reason. You thought you heard arguing. The angels heard begging. Their curtains closed just before the screams did. That strange smell wasn't incense. What was buried was never forgotten by heaven. You smiled back at a soul already damned. The whispers you ignored were warnings. They lived next door. Hell lived inside them. He waved like a man with nothing to hide. Their hands were always too clean. She greeted you while dragging her past behind her. Not all monsters live in basements. That light that never turned off? A silent confession. The cops came late, but the angels never left. Your child said they felt scared. You dismissed it. Evil learned your name, but God sealed your door. Every time you walked by, heaven watched too. He looked at you like a man rehearsing. You shared a wall. He shared none of your soul. They smiled with the same mouth that threatened innocence. Your dog barked for weeks. You thought it was nothing. That knock on their door, it echoed in the spirit world. You waved across the lawn. They were burying proof. Their prayers were empty. Their closets were full. You felt something was off. You were right. The mail came. The mask stayed. Not all demons look like fear. Some look like family. That sound you ignored was someone's last plea. You thought you were safe. The devil was next door. A loving neighbor. A living nightmare. Their garden hose washed away more than dirt. Every time you spoke, they studied your voice. You weren't just neighbors. You were a witness heaven protected. They smiled at your children. God covered them. The shadows on their porch were never empty. You passed evil every morning and never saw its eyes. They lit candles, but the smell was never sweet. They kept secrets behind locked fridges and fake walls. She looked normal. She was not. He mowed his lawn with hands stained in silence. You thought it was overthinking. It was spiritual intelligence. Their charm was practiced. Their sin hidden. He pretended to be godly, but even the demons laughed. If this touched your soul, don't scroll, comment your favorite quote, and subscribe for more. The ground is crying beneath their home. You felt cold every time you walked by. They offered cookies, but kept darkness in the oven. God showed you the truth through your child's eyes. She smiled like she never heard crying. Their trash always smelled like regret. You nearly trusted the devil's favorite neighbor. They kept to themselves. So did the truth. Evil played house. The officer's face changed when they opened the second room. You prayed unknowingly over haunted walls. Their house wasn't a home. It was a shrine to cruelty. They never spoke much. Their silence was a cage. She wore perfume to hide the blood. He cleaned religiously, except his soul. The child's drawings told the real story. They smiled while someone screamed beneath the floorboards. You lent them sugar. They carried secrets. They waved like everything was fine. It never was. You felt fear. They fed on it. She was always baking. But nothing ever smelled right. What they hid now haunts the neighborhood. Every breeze brought back echoes. They had a basement no one was allowed in. The house looked blessed. It was not. He invited you in. Heaven pulled you back. The walls remember. You walked past evil and lived. The sirens came too late, but God had been watching. They were caught, but not before the damage. The officer dropped his pen when he opened the freezer. Your spirit knew before your mind did. Every good morning was hiding a soul's night terror. They prayed just loud enough to seem human. You saw their true face the night the lights went out. He was calm, too calm. The child next door never spoke again. Evil dressed itself in Sunday clothes. You'll never forget the feeling when they opened that back room. The house won't stop weeping. She kept journals, no one was meant to read. God kept you from knocking on the wrong day. They took what was never theirs to touch. You felt sick after every visit. What the officers found wasn't just physical. It was spiritual. They practiced kindness like a costume. The cross on their wall mocked heaven. Every neighbor feels haunted now. What they did left a mark that can't be scrubbed. The crime wasn't shocking to the spirit realm. It was documented. You felt safe until their door opened and history bled out. She called herself spiritual. The spirits she hosted were not holy. Every time you looked away, evil got braver. They prayed for forgiveness they never meant. He kept a locked chest labeled memories. It wasn't memories. She had journals full of victims and verses. They practiced normalcy with demonic precision. You sat beside them during the block party. You were inches from darkness. He shook hands with the same ones he bound. You never saw the chains, but the walls did. She said she heard God. She lied. The investigators said it was the worst they'd seen. Your discernment wasn't dramatic. It was divine. They kept the music loud so no one could hear. She wore white, but her heart was stained. You thought it was imagination. It was insight. What was found in that house will follow their name forever. They laughed too hard at true crime shows. The house next door became the town's open wound. The Holy Spirit warned you before the news did. The child next door kept drawing shadows. You always felt watched, because you were. They smiled like neighbors. They hunted like predators. That one locked room broke the entire case. The dog that went missing wasn't the first. Their front door was painted, but the inside rotted. They hosted barbecues above hidden horror. Her lullabies masked screams. You thought your chills were the weather. They weren't. Even the houseplants leaned away from their light. Their trash day always reeked of regret. The officers won't forget what they smelled. They left the porch light on. The devil stayed longer. What they filmed they buried, but not deep enough. The mattress had stories the walls couldn't forget. God let justice knock louder than deception. Their family portrait will now hang in court. That one drawer cracked, open a hidden history. Your soul had been screaming danger. They smiled like saints, sin like serpents. The caseworker fainted in the hallway. She gave baked goods. God gave visions. What they took cannot be returned, but heaven is restoring peace. Their fingerprints were on more than doorknobs. The whispers of the past are now broadcasted. You weren't crazy. You were covered. They looked you in the eye with hell behind theirs. That house needs cleansing, not cleaning. Evil wore their skin, but truth wore time. If this touched your soul, don't scroll, like, comment your favorite quote, and subscribe for more.